As a person's levels of wealth increase, their feelings of compassion and empathy go down. And their feelings of entitlement, of deservingness, and their ideology of self-interest increases. In surveys, we found that it's actually wealthier is favorable and moral.
We are often told that the rich are simply evil. As a matter of fact, a study released 2 years ago by the University of California at Berkeley analyzed a person's rank in society and came to the conclusion that the rich were more likely to cheat, lie, and break the law than those who were poorer. Of course, critics will point to where the study originated and link it to what some consider a tired argument from the left that holds little weight with them. With the midterm elections looming, another president waiting in the wings, the time has come to start wondering, what's so bad about having money? Welcome to MidPoint, fellow at the Ayn Rand Institute, author of the bestseller Free Market Revolution, How Ayn Rand's Ideas Can End Big Government, Don Watkins, and Democratic strategist and liberal political commentator T.J. Walker. Thank you so much for joining us today, gentlemen.
Good to be with you.
All right, I tell you what, Don, I'm going to start with you. Here's a simple question. We'll start things out. What's so bad about being rich?
The only way you get it is through providing goods and services. The main thing you have to keep in mind is wealth is not a zero-sum game. That when Bill Gates or Steve Jobs gets rich, it's by creating enormous amounts of value that make everybody who deal with them better off. And that's something we should admire and aspire to emulate as best we can.
TJ, your turn.
Well, I think this whole segment is premised on a straw man. I've never actually heard Michael Moore or any liberal say that rich people are evil. That is as dishonest as saying, well, all conservatives hate black people. Liberals don't hate capitalism. All conservatives don't hate black people. We're dealing with straw men. What's really going on here is Michael Moore is a very successful capitalist. He's made more than $200 million from his movies, but he's not politically correct because he's not conservative. There are some conservatives who want to criticize him because he's not their type of CEO.
But in the minds of many people, and I'm going to read to you directly from, this is the Washington Post in one of their blogs, a quote about Michael Moore. What could be more ironic than the liberal anti-capitalism firebrand Moore battling with his wife about an ostentatious display of his wealth? And that's according to the Washington Post and according to the Detroit News. So is it not fair to say that he has made films in the past that basically slam capitalism in some way, shape, form, or another?
He actually made a film called Capitalism, a love story. Michael Moore is very much in favor of capitalism. He simply is in favor of capitalism that takes care of workers and doesn't just give all the spoils to the wealthy. I mean, by your definition, if you criticize a capitalist, you're anti-capitalist. That means you and every conservative who criticizes Michael Moore is somehow anti-capitalism because Michael Moore is a very successful capitalist.
Well, let's point out that the words I just gave you were from the Washington Post and the Detroit News did not come from me.
From a blog.
Okay, but from a blog that I'm quoting for you, which gives it to somebody else's attribution here. So don't make the assertion here that I'm the one coming here as a capitalist saying that I am and he is. Let's make sure that we make that point. Don, I want to come to you as well. You pointed this out earlier where you talked about value in here. Is it not fair to say, though, that the rich people, if you want to go ahead and make it simple, still make jobs for others and still manage to, in some way, shape, or form, spread that wealth around the country?
Well, no, look, that's totally the wrong way to think about it. As I agree with the other guests that you can't talk about what the quote rich and what the quote poor or what the quote middle class do. There's a lot of people who are doing different things. And what makes the rich Michael Moore more immoral is not that he's rich, and it's not even that he's a hypocrite. It's that he got rich doing something vicious, which is attack successful capitalists, attack wealth creators, attack job creators. And that is what I object to. What we should do is when is the last time that they went to a businessman and said, you created something, that's great? No, instead what we get is comments like, you didn't build that, which attributing all success to luck, to expropriation, to exploitation, referring to wealth that wealthy people achieve as spoils, as your guest did. That is exactly the mentality I'm talking about, that treats this as a zero-sum game rather than one in which we all win, and some of us win extraordinary amounts because they create extraordinary amounts of wealth.
But you would say that it's not fair to lump everybody into that category, correct?
Absolutely, and that's why there's today, for instance, a lot of cronyism where people get rich by getting special favors from the government. And I object to that as much as I object to the government interfering with any other sort of freedom.
But then you should be a huge, huge fan of Michael Moore. No one has done more over the years to point out the evils of crony capitalism, to talk about how the Pillsbury Doughboy company gets $11 million to promote the Pillsbury Doughboy. Michael Moore has been very steadfast in attacking corporate welfare. So my colleague, my fellow guest, should be very much in praise of Michael Moore. I do find it ironic that he's saying Michael Moore is a bad guy because he criticizes a successful capitalist, and yet our guest is criticizing Michael Moore, who is a successful capitalist. I don't know if that means you're filled with self-loathing, but there's a huge contradiction there.
No, the contradiction is very simple. He might dismiss corporate welfare, but if you listen to 2 seconds of what he says, for instance, he did a whole movie about healthcare, which basically argues that healthcare is evil because it's profit-driven, and that we should aspire to be like Cuba. Is that pro-capitalism? Is that pro-freedom?
I've seen the entire movie, Sicko, which is a great movie. He never once says healthcare is evil. All he did is point out that every place else in the world has, for example, lower rates of
socialized medicine. Yeah,
than
that's
the
his
United
ideal.
States does, and they spend less on healthcare than we do. He's trying to be conservative and save money spent on healthcare. Apparently, you're in favor of wasting healthcare dollars.
Yeah, you can save money if the government takes it over and doesn't give people good health care. I mean, that's exactly what we see across the world. But the point here is to claim that he's somehow pro-capitalism when he's idealizing socialized medicine and attacking a lot of legitimate wealth creators, not these corporate cronies. That is completely bizarre. I mean, the idea that Michael Moore is somehow crusading for the free market is delusional.
Michael Moore believes in capitalism, and he just wishes, you always hear conservatives say things were better in the United States in the 1950s. Michael Moore agrees. He would like to go back to the 1950s when corporations paid a third of our tax bill. Today they pay 10%.
Okay,
so
I tell you what.
Very much in favor of conservative Republican Eisenhower tax rates.
Okay, we both made points here. I only have a few minutes left, so let me just get down to this. Another point here. Is it not fair to say, and Don, I'm going to start with you, that it doesn't make a difference whether you're left, right, libertarian, whatever, there are greedy people everywhere. This mantra that we seem to hear at times, that it's Republicans who are evil, Republicans who are the ones who are doing all the dirty work. Come on now, let's be honest. There's Democrats out there who have lobbyists doing their dirty work as well as there are Republicans out there, correct?
Look, the issue is what do you...
Hold on a sec, TJ. Hang on a sec, TJ.
Michael
Don,
Moore
you first.
Democrats as much as Republicans.
Hang on a sec. Hang on, TJ. Don, go first.
The issue is what are you motivated by? And if your goal is to go out there and create lots of wealth, be really creative and productive, like build a company like Apple, then that greed for success and for achievement and for production, that's something we should admire and aspire to. What we should oppose is those who are greedy for power and greedy for other people's money. And that you see on both the left and right. That's true.
All right, TJ, go ahead.
Well, he mentioned Apple a couple of times. Apple is a great company. I own a bunch of their products. Interestingly, though, a number of conservatives recently have attacked the Apple CEO because they don't like his involvement with promoting the environment, global warming. So how come we're not doing segments on how anti-capitalist these conservatives are?
Don?
Anti-capitalist does not mean, or to be pro-capitalist doesn't mean you support each and every capitalist. It means you support a free society where rights, including property rights, are protected from physical force.
So it's okay when conservatives attack corporations, but it's evil when liberals criticize corporations. Got it. That's really...
Anybody can criticize corporations. Are you doing it because you're pro-freedom and pro-prosperity, or you're doing it because you have a big government agenda that involves strangling the productive members of society?
Okay, I have 1 minute left. Hang on, guys. I have 1 minute left. I'm going to ask your opinion on both of this here, seeing as we're talking about wealthy people. Recent CNN ORC poll asked people, for some reason, a presidential election were held today. You had to choose between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. 53% said Romney, 44% said Obama. Didn't we hear years ago that Mitt Romney was a wealthy guy who was completely out of touch with America, and now we're hearing from people 53 to 44 that they think he'd do a better job? TJ, don't you think that's interesting?
Well, it basically discredits your whole thesis that our society is awash with wealth bashing. If Mitt Romney is so popular, obviously the media and liberals aren't really spending a lot of time bashing the wealthy, are they?
Okay, Don?
Americans are mixed. That we definitely have an admiration for success, but we're also suspicious of great amounts of wealth. And I think it's precisely because the anti-capitalist mentality tries to sow the seeds of assuming that if somebody got rich, they got rich on the backs of other people rather than by actually creating. And if you do get rich on the back of others, then you should be condemned for it. But somebody like Romney certainly didn't, and the attacks on him for his business success were incredibly unjust, although I'm no fan of Romney in politics.
All right, we're going to have to cut it there. Don Watkins and TJ Walker. Hey, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I have a feeling this is not going to be the last word. We will do this again. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, there you go. And it's not all about being evil. Later on this hour, the lesson our leaders can and should learn from the guy who once had sympathy for the devil. That's coming up right here on MidPoint, where we question everything.